Hey, how's it going, everyone? It's Nick here with the BuzzLex YouTube channel, and this is just kind of an update video on the Linux gaming PC. As you can see, it's up and running. I've actually been messing around with it for a while now. At first I installed Ubuntu 14.04, their long-term support version, just to kind of get my bearings with Linux again. I've only ever really used it with like a live CD booting to Linux, just for like diagnostic purposes. If I need to do that on any computers, I'll use that. So I kind of been messing around with it for a while now, and figuring out kind of some things that gave me trouble as a new Linux user that I know other people converting from Windows will probably have to suffer as well. So I have some good notes written down on things that for videos. I'm going to be doing a lot of videos about helpful tips for new Linux converts and stuff like that. So after I was messing around with Ubuntu for a little bit, I stumbled across a new distribution, which is just a kind of a different flavor of Linux, I guess you'd call it, and it's called Linux Mint. So Linux Mint, this is 17.1 Rebecca, I believe it's called, and this is now Linux Mint has a couple different kind of versions of different desktop environments, at least. And this is Cinnamon here. As you can see, it has it's very Windows friendly, I'd say. If someone coming from Windows will have no trouble navigating this OS or this distribution. As you can see, as a start menu, it's very, very clean, very easy to navigate and stuff. But I'm going to be doing a whole separate video on this distribution, and I'll kind of add in how to customize and stuff this particular one, because I have it a little customized here. I'll add that into the video of my overview of this distribution stuff. And this is actually the core of this build is actually, or this distribution is actually on Ubuntu, so it's going to be really stable like Ubuntu is for the most part. And I think this is going to be a good choice for anyone that's really used to Windows that's thinking about converting to Linux. So again, I'll do another video on that. This is just, again, like an update video on the whole build. I was lucky and the computer booted up first try, got right into the BIOS, and was able to install Linux from there. So that was very nice. I was kind of worried that I might have a part that, or a component that arrived on arrival or something like that, but unfortunately I was in the clear. And also, even though there's a lot of videos online about actually how to install Linux on like a fresh built computer, I will be doing a video on how to do that. Just kind of go over the basics and how to install Linux onto a USB flash drive, and install the ISO, and then be able to boot to it. I'll go through like the BIOS settings and how to set it to boot straight to that USB drive and stuff like that. So that's another video I'm going to be working on, as well as doing benchmarks. So in the OS here, I have Steam installed, and here's just a couple games I'm going to be doing benchmarks on. There's Chivalry, Medieval Warfare, CSGO, currently installing CSGO here. Euro Truck Simulator too. Now, if you haven't played Euro Truck Simulator, it's exactly what it is. It's what it says. It's a truck simulator. So you're a trucker in Europe. It's actually a very good-looking game, and it's actually, I haven't played it that much, but I can see if I were to play it a lot, it'd be a pretty relaxing game to play. It's pretty cool. Here is Metro Last Light. Now this is just the regular version, it's not the Redux, but I will be doing a benchmark on this, and it'll kind of give you an idea of how the Redux version will run on this. You'll probably have to adjust the settings a little bit lower than what I'm running on this version, as well as The Witcher 2. So The Witcher 2 is a very, even though it's a couple years old now, it's still, with the graphics or the graphical settings cranked up, it's still a very demanding game. So it's it's going to be a benchmark video on that as well. Now I am going to do other games as well. There's a program called Wine, I believe. Now what Wine does is it allows you to play certain DirectX games on Linux. It's kind of like a DirectX emulator, I believe. It's like my rough definition of what it does. But with Wine, you're able to play games like I think League of Legends and World of Warcraft mainly. I think that's going to be a big selling point for a computer running Linux. Like if you just play World of Warcraft, that's your game. I think this computer is going to do pretty well running that game. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to have a whole video how to set up Wine, how to install World of Warcraft on Linux and get it up and running. And then as well as the benchmarks incorporated into that video, so we can see what this computer can do with World of Warcraft. Which I think it's going to do pretty well with the overclocked Pentium. I think that's going to be a good processor for that kind of game. Warlords of Draenor just came out not too long ago, and I think it's going to do pretty well. Now speaking of overclocking, I'm also, right now I have just a simple overclock on the system. All I did was go into the BIOS and adjust the multiplier. Now when I do my overclocking video, I'm going to go into a little more detail. Right now it's pretty good where it's at with just the auto voltage and everything. Everything left to auto except for the multiplier. Temperatures are pretty good. But in my overclocking video, I'm going to go over different stress testing utilities as well as hardware monitoring utilities. Like temperature monitoring and stuff like that, because there's not as many choices for Linux as there is for Windows. So I'm going to go over the ones I found that I used that worked good for me. So I'll kind of incorporate BIOS overclocking and utilities to stress test and monitor temperatures all in that video. And I'm also going to go over voltage, adjusting the voltage, because even on these H81 chipset boards, you are limited to like 1.3 volts at the max, but you can adjust the voltage underneath that. So by adjusting like a lower voltage for the clock that you have on the CPU, you'll be able to get better temperatures. So it's a good idea to adjust the voltage to get better temperatures while maintaining that clock speed. Hopefully that made sense there. But yeah, I'm gonna have a whole benchmarking video about that, and adjusting and monitoring and benchmarking and all that kind of stuff, as well as how to install programs. Like a big one that I had trouble with, coming from Windows and just being used to having GeForce Experience install my NVIDIA drivers. It's a little more complicated than that for the Linux operating system. I'll go over like the easiest way I found to get a relatively recent driver installed on Linux. So I'll go over that in a video, as well as do a video on actually how to install a program. It's a little bit different, actually a lot different, than just double clicking on an executable to install something. You do have to use the terminal, but I'll go over this in more detail in other videos. But the terminal is your friend on Linux. You really need to use this to do pretty much anything, but I'll go over that, how to install different programs and stuff on Linux and stuff like that in other videos. Oh geez, 9-minute video. Okay, enough rambling. This is just kind of an update video on the Linux build and what my plans are in the future as far as videos go related to this. So if you stuck around this long, thank you for watching, and please stay tuned for more installments of this series. So again, thank you. This is Nick with the BuzzLux YouTube channel.